Welcome back to Keep Your Torch Lit, and welcome to the first episode of season 6. My name is Sarah X, and we also
And my
have.
name is Sam Morris. Unfortunately, Jack could not make it today. I know you're probably wondering, why do we look a little bit different? I mean, for me personally, my placement on season 5 just kind of changed me a little bit. You know, it does, Survivor Michigan does things to you, but we made it through. And yeah,
Just kidding.
just kidding. We are the new hosts of KYTL for Generation 2.
Yeah!
Yes. Okay, let's do a little name change real quick.
Name change.
Yeah. I know you guys. We got you. You really thought it was Sarah and Jack or Sarah and Sam.
You really thought. We
Mhm.
didn't say anything on Twitter. Twitter. I want to say like Twitter/X, but like no. We didn't say anything on Twitter, right?
Okay, so yes, we can give ourselves a little introduction. My name is Roger. I am a junior at Michigan. I played Survivor Michigan season 8, and I'm currently an exec member on Prod. And I'm super excited about season 6. I came to Michigan during season 8 when I was a freshman, so I was not here for season 6. So the information I know is quite limited, and I'm really excited to watch it with all of you.
Yeah, I'm Sophia. I'm also a junior right now at Michigan. I played on season 9 of Survivor Michigan. Like Roger, I was a freshman when I played season 9, so I have very little information about season 6. So this is very much going to be like first impressions, where we think things are going. Um, and we'll definitely be able to give insider tips through our alumni connections and such. But yeah, I mean, this is super fun. And we're very excited to be here. And I hope you guys are too.
The format might be a little different. There might be, we'll try to still do the boot interviews. You know, we might not get everybody, but we're gonna try our best. And then, we might throw in our own little segments here and there. But for the most part, it's still KYTL. And do not worry, Sam, Jack, and Sarah will be back at some point. We're not just gonna desert you guys. And we might have other special guests. Maybe some you know, maybe some you don't. We'll see.
You never know who you're going to get, but you always know you're going to be stuck with me and Roger.
Yep, we are here until season 10 comes out in 10 years.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yep.
season 10.
Yeah.
That will. Well, right now we're talking about season 6.
Right.
And season 6 is an exciting one. Starting a new generation. We have a whole. There's 20 people. Whole new
20 people.
cast. 20 characters.
First Survivor Michigan season with 20 people, I believe.
Yeah. I think everyone else has been 21 or 18. So
yeah,
switching up the numbers, which is super fun. Going down the line, I mean, the person that stood out, obviously, I think we got to talk about Prod. Like, it's hard to avoid.
Well, no, you know what we need to start off with? This is
What?
Brady's first season hosting an all newbie season.
Yes, Brady!
And I mean, we can obviously talk about it later, but I think he did a great job. He is such a natural host. And just as good as Cooper and George, love them as hosts. But Brady just did a super good job. And I'm excited to see how he interacts with new people. I think when you host with old people, there's a lot to go back, or there's a lot to go off of. You already have all the background knowledge of them. And there's so much lore already built in, where when you have new players, you are given a blank slate. And I think Brady, I'm so excited to see what Brady does with this.
Oh, I'm excited too. Brady is great. Very close friend of ours. My first note of the season was host Brady is back. I'm excited to see what quips he has. He had a lot of good things to say in All Stars. And I think it's only going to get better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I did not mean to cut you off, Sophia, about your first point.
Fake. Guys, I'm gonna let you know now. Roger and I we're very sassy towards each other, so that's
I mean, I'm
normal.
sassy towards everybody, but
Yeah,
specifically Sophia. Like,
we're sassy, and that's okay.
that's okay. It's just our bit.
It is a bit. It's a great bit.
Great bit.
Great bit. Speaking of bits, I think we need to talk about our dear editor, Ian Harris. Um, he is one of the great characters of season 6, and he gets
Mhm.
introduced. I think it's if I think we'll learn a lot more about about Ian's character throughout this season. We saw him a lot, obviously, for All Stars, and just his introduction was so Ian. Like
Yeah,
him
when Ian walked in and was like, "Is this for Survivor?" I was like, and it was, I think it was Matt Israel behind the camera, and he was
yeah,
like, "Yep," and Ian's like, "Hi, I'm Ian," and I'm just
it
like,
was so I like could not I was not. It was very
mm.
funny.
I think it
Um
was the perfect introduction for Ian.
yeah,
And
it was
Ian's interesting
so
because like I think like he is a big part of Survivor Michigan, but because he's behind the scenes, not everyone really knows Ian that well. I think he put himself out there a lot for the All Stars production in terms of like the marketing of it and stuff. But a casual fan might have zero idea who Ian is, and I think this is a great introduction for people that have no idea who he is, and a great introduction for people who like know the amount of work he put in for seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5.
yeah, I think it's all around really good. I think it's more fun too for like the hardcore fans. It's like jokes that they'll get. And don't worry, we'll let
Mhm.
you in on our hardcore joke lore, Easter eggs lore. Um, but okay, one thing I wanted to say, I don't know if this was like a bit for Ian, but he said that the first thing he said when he walked in was like, "Is this for Survivor Michigan?" Sorry, I was just at mock trial practice. And first of all, I was so unsure if that was a bit or not. And second, why would you say you're in mock trial when you're going to
That's
join
such a good
Survivor?
point. I
And
think
I'm like,
like mock trial people are very good at speaking, and like
yes,
it's not it's like I think there are certain things that people lie about in Survivor, in both real Survivor and college Survivor, that are stupid. Lying about mock trial is not one of those things. Like you should lie about that. Like I guess the problem with lying about like being in a club is if someone else
is
like
in that club or
is
knows
in that
someone in that
club
club.
or know someone else in that club, then you're fucked. And I
Yeah.
think like that is a reason to maybe tell the truth. And I think we can get into this later, but that I think Ian almost has like the like two opposite problems. He's telling the truth about mock trial, but then like lying about being on Survivor Prod,
Yeah.
where people might be able to figure that out.
Yeah. And they
What?
do.
Yeah. Short, like long story short, lying about things is you have to be very careful with what you lie about, and if you do, you kind of have to commit to it because the moment you break is like people are like gonna be they're gonna be so aware of the fact that you tried to
Hmm.
lie and then didn't even follow through.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is like why I think Katie, like another old prod member playing for her the first time, is she was very
Mm,
much like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie about it. Like people are gonna find out, but I'm just gonna downplay it so
mm,
that it's not like it was a big deal. Like
mm,
obviously we know like she was super involved on prod. We saw her a lot like popping in and out of scenes in season 5 and super close with like Ian and Cooper and that whole group. So it's just I'm interested to see where it goes.
What I find interesting is you would think if Katie and Ian were like super close, they would have like coordinated what they were gonna lie about, or like maybe like
So
figured something
yeah,
out. But there was a like we're already getting way into the like middle of the episode, but there was a part where like Ian was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not telling anyone about anything, and you could fuck this up for me, Katie." It was like, first of all, like they said they were like been best friends since freshman year. You think like for sure like knew that they were playing together. I think if like you need to use that to your advantage and come up with like a story that you're gonna tell.
Yeah, that's how someone unknowing that they're going into a Survivor game would do College Survivor.
Right. Because like that's the thing. Like this season in particular, there are 4 people that were on production in some way. And as the episode clearly states, like they knew that they were playing. George and
Mm.
Katie found out that they were going to be playing together. I'm sure Katie and Ian knew that they were going to be playing together. And there's also Noah, and like Noah was on prod for season 5 as well. So I have to think that there was like some communication, but clearly not enough.
Yeah, like I wonder, maybe they'll go into it in like a later episode or something, but
Mm,
they they're portrayed as very much like all on different pages right now, and
yeah.
um very much it's like we're just gonna see how it goes.
Mm,
Um which I guess that's how it'll be.
I
Um
think
yeah.
while we're on the topic, let's just go through the other pod members. So then we can give the spotlight to everyone else that like people
Yes.
might have like zero idea about. So I think if we're gonna talk about Ian, we have to talk about George.
Yeah.
George is like the founder or the co-founder of Survivor Michigan, like the host of the first season of Survivor Michigan. And if you are playing Survivor Michigan, one thing to do would be like, hey, let me watch Survivor Michigan. So every single person is coming in probably knowing who he is. And if they don't, they're going to find out. Like, there's no way to
Eventually.
hide that. And that's the one thing, like the juxtaposition of Ian like completely like saying nothing about what he's doing, and then George like pretty much having to tell everyone everything is really funny, but for George, it makes the most sense. Like, if you come in and you just like pretend like it's not a thing, someone's gonna find out. Clearly, people knew. Taylor, the Survivor Michigan super fan, immediately was like, "You're the host of Survivor Michigan." Like, that's not something you can hide. And I think George does a good job of being upfront about it. And from what we can tell, like people didn't seem super worried about it.
No, which I was shocked about. Like I definitely
Mm-hmm.
respect George to like, and it's like a move he had to make. Like he had to tell people because it's so like out of his control of how people
Mm-hmm.
find out. So I think it's definitely good for him to like just be like,
Right.
"Hey, I was the host, but it's been a while." So like I'm still open to anything, and like that doesn't mean
Mhm.
like stuff. Um
And
but I'm also shocked that people were like so like, "Oh yeah, he hosted." All right, well, and I'm like, "Whoa,
mhm,
whoa." I would have been like, "Okay, he hosted, so he kind of knows the vibes. He created the club. Like, we should like take a step back and think about that." But also, like, he was upfront about it, so that'll
mhm,
gain me back a little bit. But I'm not all the way there. There were some
right.
people that are like, "All right, George train," and I'm like, "Okay, guys,
I mean,
calm
so
down."
if I'm playing Survivor Michigan and I walk in and I see George, the first thing I'm gonna think is, wow, this man is gonna be a massive threat in the end game. Like there is a 0% chance people are gonna want to take him to the end. So he is a good person to take far. And I
Like
like
it's a shield,
obviously
yeah.
we only had the first episode, so and we also didn't see like that much from the Obsidian tribe, but I have to think that a lot of these people like realize that he's going to be a big threat and want to use him for that advantage. And
Yeah.
also like I think when you're coming into Survivor, having someone that like knows what they're doing does kind of like alleviate the stress of playing. So by keeping that person in and kind of like going under his wing, you are taking a lot of stress off yourself, and you kind of have like a little guide to help you throughout the game. And I see
Yeah.
why people would want to do that. The question is, how long will people do that for?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
And not to get too meta, but George is editing this season, so I'm very curious on how he's gonna portray himself. Obviously, like it's difficult to change the entire narrative, but like
You
he
could still like
because we love you,
do
George, but
something.
we'll see how it goes. Uh, like I will say, I have been watching Survivor Michigan like before I even came here. I was a huge fan. I watched the first season in like 10th grade. Didn't even know I was gonna go to Michigan, but I was just like, this is so cool. So when I found out George was playing season 6, I was the super fan in me was like so excited, and I'm just really excited to get to watch George play the game.
Yeah. I also not before I went to college, but like right before I got to Michigan, I
Right.
watched all 4 seasons that were out of Survivor Michigan, and I was like, "Whoa, this is so sick." Like, you can do this at school. So, I like to be a self-proclaimed Survivor Michigan fan before I was a Survivor CBS fan. So yeah, if I was going into playing season 6, just watched all 4 seasons, obviously Cooper's the host for most of those, and you'd be like, "Oh, they brought the old guy." Um, and I'd still be like, "Whoa."
Mhm.
I mean, also the just starting a Survivor season is very, like, overwhelming. So just, like,
Yeah.
adding new, like, layers to that is like you can it's like not it's like being starstruck, like,
Uh,
even if it's a small level of it, it's still like, "Oh my god, this is a whole new
mhm.
layer to this." Um,
A-
and
As
it's cool.
a sorry, okay,
Go ahead.
as a like new player coming in, how do you deal with like people on prod playing? Because like when I played my season, that there was never like a thought of that even being a possibility, and like it's definitely like a weird thing to deal with. I mean, obviously people are like Facebook stalking and able to find that out, but it's like I mean, people is it an inherent advantage to be on prod?
Um, I don't think so because I think being on prod and playing are so different.
Mm,
Obviously, I think what's nerve-wracking is that when you go into, like, College Survivor as a player and you don't really understand how the club works from the production side, it's like you feel like they have an advantage because they know production. When
right.
inherently that shouldn't change anything about how the game is run because if the prod team is fair, they're gonna make like every challenge like equally feasible for both tribes or for every
That's
individual.
true.
Um, but I think it's yeah, I don't know where my sentence was going, but as a newer player, I would be scared of the old prod members because they do
Mhm.
have some sort of, like, idea of what's going on, like,
Yeah,
obviously,
especially the
there's
people
people
that
that
are so upfront about it.
yeah, and, like, obviously, you can watch Survivor CBS and, like, watch people on the island do challenges, do strategy, but College Survivor is just, like, a whole new level because there's so much more
Mhm.
time between things,
Yeah.
um, and yeah.
Okay, so we talked about Ian and George, who are like probably the big names of this season, just because host and editor. But let's not forget about Katie and Noah. I think we can start with Katie. I loved Katie in this episode. She definitely did not get that much screen time, but she actually no, she got a good amount. She got a whole segment about her. In fact, she
Yeah.
was the one who narrated like basically like these are the people that were on prod that are playing. And I thought that was really nice to see from her perspective, and she seems to be the most connected with all of them. She's obviously friends with Cooper or with Ian. I keep mixing them up. She's obviously friends with Ian. She was on prod for season 5 with Noah, and obviously we'll get to it later. But her and George, ooh, they didn't explicitly say anything, but
I know.
George said to imagine it. Katie said not to imagine it.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Katie does, she's great. She's so goofy, she's so funny. Um, I just love her. I don't know what else to say. She's great.
She's great. I think had she had a really good showing this episode. She's very aware of the fact that she's on prod, but did not lie about it, unlike Ian, which I think personally I think is the right call. Obviously, people are going to be weary. They're going to assume that Katie, George, Noah, and Ian, if they find out that they were on prod, are going to be working together. But I think it's worth the risk only because once people find out, you basically have no credibility if you lied
Yeah.
about it. Whereas if you tell the truth, then you don't have to worry about losing that credibility at like a random part of the season. And being able to control the narrative, I think, is why telling the truth about something like that is a good decision, at least in this circumstance, especially for Katie.
Oh, totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that is just a good idea across the board for the prod
Mhm.
members. So we'll see how Ian digs his own grave in the next episode, I guess. Somehow got out of it for this first one, but that's getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes.
I think
So
we should talk about Noah.
yes, fan
Um
favorite Noah. We know how
and
much the fans already love Noah.
we got a lot of Noah today in this episode.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, like, I think Noah was like, at least on my notes, he was like probably like one of the first people that like was even on the screen at all.
yeah, I think he was like the second person to arrive. Maybe even the first. I think he might have been first.
Yeah, no, it was
But
him and Abby. I think were the first two people to show up.
okay. Yeah. He seems great.
Mhm.
I
Noah's very like nonchalant, very chill, but like you can tell that like he's here to play, and I'm
yeah.
really excited to see how he plays. I do know that like there was a little controversy with something he might have done at All Stars, but let's think about it like this: any publicity is good publicity. You already know who his name. You already know who he is. So
That's
I
true.
and like things happen. Obviously, what he did in All Stars was not intentional. It ended up working itself out a little bit, I guess. And I like you can choose to like him or hate him, but I personally am really excited to see Noah actually get to play the game, and I hope that he can win people over.
Yeah. And he's really well spoken, I feel like.
Uh-huh.
His conversations and his confessionals were really good, in my opinion. Um, and I feel like out of all of the 4 prod, he's, like, the one with, quote, unquote, "the least experience," because he only
Mhm.
did the season prior. Um, and also it was an all-star season, which is so much different than a newbie season.
Right.
And so I think it's like he's, like, more on an even playing not to say that the prod people have an advantage, but, like, if you are in that mindset that the production people have a greater target to begin with, I feel like
Yeah.
his isn't as great in the sense that he's never been a part of a newbie season.
Agreed. Okay.
Um,
Now that we got the prod people out of the way, let's talk about everyone else because this cast is stacked. And
so
that's
good.
like,
It's
we can
so
go.
good.
We'll go over like a few of the people that they show before the challenge, and then we'll get to the challenge. And then obviously, I
Mhm.
think we see a lot more of specifically Sokka once Sokka loses. But there's some good people on Obsidian too. One more thing I do want to talk about is I do find it interesting that George and Katie are on the same tribe.
Yeah.
I think it
I'm
I think it shows that Katie is very connected. Like obviously Katie and Ian are really close friends. It sounds like Katie and Noah like are pretty close as well.
Mhm.
I do find it interesting that they put George and Katie on the same tribe, but
Yeah.
I'm also really interested to see how that plays out. Putting
Yeah, I
put a couple on a tribe together is definitely it's interesting because they have a person that like is probably like a guaranteed ally, but also if you put them on other tribes then you risk them sharing everything and just leading to a complete domination that way. So I honestly think it makes sense to put them on the same tribe. I'm excited to see how that happens. And George and Katie are both like they love Survivor. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see like will they turn on each other? Will they even get the opportunity to? I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. 'Cause, like, even, like, think about, like, if George and Katie were not on the same tribe to begin with, just,
Mm,
like, the chaos of, like, all of the Sokka information, like or the Obsidian, like, leaking to the other side
right.
so early. Um, Definitely think it was good and very excited to see how, like, the Obsidian outside of just George and Katie, I feel like Obsidian as a tribe is
Mhm.
so strong. Like,
Yeah.
you just have such good people, like, I feel like we didn't see a lot of them, but, like, T-Rex and Justin and Jack. Um,
Oh, T-Rex. I can't wait to talk about these people.
T-Rex! Can we just talk
But
about T-Rex?
let's talk
First of
about
all,
T-Rex.
his name is T-Rex.
Like, that's so cool. I'm sorry, but if I'm playing Survivor and I see a man named T-Rex, like immediate number one ally. Like, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Like
Also, only has watched French Survivor.
that
That's
is
iconic.
I'm like really interested to see how he is going to be able to like maneuver through the game because like I think you have people that play Survivor Michigan that like don't know what Survivor is at all, and sometimes they pick up the game, sometimes they don't. This is an interesting case where like he's watched Survivor, but it's a completely like different version, a completely different game. I like don't know a lot about French Survivor, but I do know that like it definitely is not like viewed the same as US Survivor. And I think T Rex kind of makes it clear that he knows that. But I'm really interested to see what he does with that information, that knowledge he has on French Survivor, and how he can kind of twist it into his own little game.
Yeah, that'll be so fun, and I want to see how he grows as a player. He just seems so fun. Um,
One thing I want to talk about is he talked about how he got his nickname, but the explanation he gave was because he goes on adventures, and I love that, but it's like,
what's the
did he
lore?
find? Yeah, like I feel like there's more. Like,
There
did he
has to be.
find did he find a T Rex or something? Like, lots of animals go on adventures. Why specifically a T Rex?
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And when I think of a T-Rex, I'm like, wow, like ferocious, like
Right.
predator of of the dinosaur ages. I don't really think the T-Rex really is going on like major adventures. It's gonna go check
Mhm.
out the little baby dinosaurs and go, I'm hungry, and just like I don't know. I'm just he's like a man of mystery right now. Just like
Mhm.
he's I got it because I went on adventures. Oh, that can mean so many things.
It really could. Okay, Sophia, I have a new bit that I think we can do every week. Question
Okay,
of the day.
okay.
If you had to give yourself a nickname that can only be a dinosaur, what would you name yourself? Also,
Ooh,
also can be a play off the dinosaur. It doesn't have to be like
okay,
exactly.
okay. I would probably go with Stego, like Stegosaurus.
Ooh.
Um, because there is this one bit on the ASDF movies for those who have seen them. Tomska, go watch them if you haven't
They're so
after
good.
you're done watching this, of course. And there's a bit where the dinosaur goes, "I am a Stegosaurus." It's just so derpy and funny. Um, and Stego would just I think it's good with it keeps the S at the beginning of the name, you know? I
Mm,
like it.
okay. I think I really like pterodactyl. The silent P is so goofy, and
But
I feel like
pterodactyl.
yeah. Actually, I changed my answer to pterodactyl. You have to pronounce the P.
It's
That's
not
it. I'm
silent.
pterodactyl. Yep.
Good.
Comment below what your dinosaur name would be, please. If you're
Yeah,
on the
and
YouTube channel.
I will personally rate them all and then send my ratings. Um, I don't know what I'll do with them, but if you're
Yeah, where are
curious
you
on
gonna
my
send them to?
if you're curious about my tier list,
You're gonna
comment
make a tier
below,
list.
and I can make a tier
What we
list.
should do is make a podcast for this podcast where we podcast about
Ooh,
how good the podcast goes.
okay,
Keep
okay,
your
and
what should it be called?
it'll be called, uh, "Keep Torch Your Lit."
I love it. That's damn it. That's a good name. Okay, back to the season. We got off topic. The tribe names. I think let's talk about that because we got some good tribe names. I think first of all, the color is black and white. I really love. It's definitely like it's the start of a new era. You could have went for a blue and yellow, but honestly, like, come on, that's it. It's very obvious. Like, obviously, they did it for season one. I I don't think they've done it again until like no, they never did it. So we have black and white. I think it's a great, just like fresh start. And we have the tribe names Obsidian and Sokka. Obsidian, I think I love Obsidian's my personal favorite.
Yeah.
It's like it just makes sense. Yes, it's like it's it's just a word, but it's a word that works. And I know,
It does.
sometimes words aren't good for survivor names, and sometimes they are. And I think Obsidian is a great name to pick.
Yeah, yeah, and it just sounds so, like, Survivor, like, obsidian
Uh,
you use to make a spear. When also I think of obsidian, I think of Minecraft
I was
because
gonna
that's where my
say
brain
yeah.
goes. Um, and I'm like, "Oh, obsidian, you gotta make your little nether portal," and then you're, like, going off to the nether to fight adventures, and that's, like,
Mhm.
challenges. I don't
Are
know
those the
what
same
tribal
adventures T
council.
Rex went on?
Maybe T-Rex went to the nether.
But they don't have T Rexes
'Cause
in Minecraft. They
they
really should get
don't.
on.
They should. Who knows?
Okay,
But yeah,
so
Obsidian's so cool, and Sokka was really cool too.
mhm.
Um, I'm not an Avatar: The Last Airbender fan,
Really,
but
that surprises me.
I know
You
it's
give the energy.
I know. It's very much there's some shows that I haven't seen that it's like, "Why haven't you seen them?"
Mm,
But Sokka just sounds like a cool, like, tribe name that Jeff Probst
mm.
would go, "And the white tribe, you guys are Sokka," and I'd be like, "Whoa, Jeff, that's so cool."
That's because Jeff
Um
is in love with two-syllable tribe names.
Exactly, which is why it's perfect Jeff Probst name.
Yeah, I like the Sokka tribe. I've seen the first season of The Last Airbender. It's so good. Haven't had time to watch the other two seasons. I will say, I think the reason I like Obsidian better is because you look at it and it makes so much sense. Like the connection is like, oh, black, Obsidian is black, boom. Sokka, I think there's less of like a connection because like Sokka is the brother, right?
Mhm, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, like I there's not like a direct connection to like the color white. It's definitely like they just picked it because it sounds cool, but it
yeah,
sounds cool. I'm not really complaining, and I love
yeah,
the reference. I think a good reference can go a long way.
yeah, and I think even if it's not a reference, like, just the name by itself, no matter the color, is cool. I know they
It
were gonna go
sounds
with,
like you
like
said.
yeah, I
What were
know
they
they were
gonna
gonna go
go
with
with?
swoosh. Like, one of them was, like, swoosh, like a Nike swoosh, and I was like,
Oh,
"Please, no one call their tribe name swoosh."
swoosh. Oh, yeah, I think we avoided that from being a tribe name, and I'm glad. Thank you. Good tribe names, which is, I think good tribe names are a sign of a good season. So I'm really excited
Yes. Yes.
because it means you have people that know what they're doing.
Mhm,
Not to
they
say
they
other
know
seasons
what's
don't
up.
have good tribe names, because honestly, seasons 1 through 5, like there's not that many misses.
Yeah, they're all pretty good. They're all pretty fun, pretty cool.
Okay,
Um,
so is there anyone else that we want to talk about before we talk about the challenge?
um, I don't know. I think we can jump into the challenge. I feel like the challenge will bring out more new people.
I agree.
Um,
Okay. So we get to the challenge, and the challenge is a classic blindfold survivor challenge. Um, there's a caller that has a blindfold on, and the people have to walk to these boxes and count how many objects are inside of the box without looking. Come back, then the caller needs to unlock a lock, which releases puzzle pieces. Then you toss the puzzle pieces, solve the puzzle, and that's about it.
Bada bing, bada boom. You got your first immunity challenge.
Yep. As a challenge exec myself, I like this challenge. I think a blindfold challenge is super fun, and love a good word puzzle.
Oh, word puzzles are so good.
Super. Oh, they're so fun. Super solid challenge. Let's see. So we have Jay was one of the callers, and excuse me, was it Katie who was the other caller?
Yeah, Jay was calling for Sokka and Katie was calling for Obsidian. I
I think
felt like
especially. Oh, you can go.
the whole time, I don't know if like maybe it was just like the microphone of like the camera, but I felt like I could only hear Katie like
Really, I
calling.
thought the opposite. I could only hear Jay.
Really?
Yeah,
Whoa. Maybe I gotta give it
that's
a rewatch, but
maybe I need to give it. No, you're probably right because Jay lost, and
yeah.
Katie obviously didn't, and Jay was super behind. I just find Jay so like fun that I was listening for him.
Yeah.
Where like I love Katie, but like Jay's voice, I was just like, haha, that's Jay, classic Jay.
Yeah. And one of my favorite quotes from George is he was like by one of the benches on the diag and he'd counted up all the pieces in the box and Katie's like telling him to go over the bench and George goes, "If I die, I die." And I was like, I don't know why, but it just made me cackle because it's just like so goofy.
I wrote that down, but I didn't put who said it.
It was George, and it was funny how Brady repeated it, and Brady you know how Brady says it.
Right.
Um, it was just something else.
Another quote that I have, which I also think was George, is so there's two people that are feeling around, they're like, is this a box? And George goes, that's my face.
Yeah. That was really good.
That was good. Other than
Um,
that, I think like, pretty standard challenge. You have Jay who apparently like unlocked the lock but didn't realize it.
yeah. How do you not like I was thinking about this during and maybe like I don't even know.
I mean,
Like
you're
how
under
do
a lot
you
of
not
pressure, and like I
Yeah.
get it, but like I do feel like if you pull enough, like you need to be like pulling that pretty hard to make sure that it actually is unlocked. So,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. I think like being caller, especially in the very first challenge, is a very risky thing to do
So
because
stressful.
you have to do a good job. If you
Yeah.
don't even make it to the puzzle, then
It's like
all eyes are going to be on you. And
yeah.
clearly, Jay, all eyes were on Jay after that. I think, not being able to unlock the lock was definitely something that he had to deal with after the challenge, and like he didn't try to like bullshit it. He was like, yeah, I fucked up.
Yeah.
But it was tough because like after that they didn't even have time to go. Like they barely made it to the puzzle.
Yeah, like Obsidian was just so ahead after the blindfold. Um
Yeah.
and like even when Obsidian was like tossing their puzzle pieces and Sokka was still trying to do the blindfolded leg of the challenge, like
uh
Sokka like just like it was portrayed that there was just like so like there was no life in that like
yeah. And
performance.
I feel that like sometimes when you're behind the challenge, it's like, especially the first challenge,
You
you
gotta
just
dig deep.
but sometimes it's just like if you're so behind, it's hard to have that energy.
It's
But
so
also like
difficult.
it's everyone except Jay must feel in a really good spot because they had one person fuck up the challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's super lucky, to be honest, like,
Mhm.
it's just it was unfortunate for Jay, but everyone else seems to be in a pretty good
Yeah.
spot. It's hard to immediately tell, well, I guess it's not, hard to immediately tell, but, like, who is next up on the chopping block,
Mhm.
um,
I would say
but
right
it's
after the challenge, it definitely felt like Jay was the most likely to get.
yeah. Yeah, and Obsidian did end up winning that challenge,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah,
with
Ellie was the puzzle solver,
yes, Ellie
and
from
this
Oregon.
yep, and it sounded like they did a pretty good job on the puzzle. I think it looked like Sokka caught up a little bit, but
Mhm.
I mean, those types of puzzles are hard. One thing I thought was really funny was I want to say it was in a confessional, and Ian was basically saying like, "Oh, if I would have got that puzzle, I would have like been able to solve it so quickly." And then Ellie solves the puzzle, and then Ian was like, "What was it?" And then whatever it was, Ellie says, and Ian was just like, "Oh, I never would have got that," or like something along the lines of that. And I
Of
just thought that
course.
was so funny because Ian was so confident that he could do this puzzle, and then he like had no clue.
Not even a little. Um, yeah, it
To
was
be
it
fair, I
was
don't think he
fun.
was there for that long, so like I don't think he had that much time. So
He definitely
not
did
really on
not.
him.
No, no. Um, but yeah, Obsidian won the challenge, and then we get into the twist of this season, which I think is a
Mhm.
cool twist, which is the difference maker. And basically, um, correct me if I'm wrong, but the winning tribe picks a difference maker. They have to decide unanimously who the difference maker is going to be, and they
Mhm.
get a special advantage for the week. And Obsidian selected Ellie to be the difference maker, and so they got to go see the difference board, and the difference board had an individual immunity necklace,
Mhm.
where they could go to Sokka's tribal, cast a vote, but they cannot be voted for, and a secret pair advantage with a love note to someone on the other tribe, where they will get half idols at final 10 that can be combined
Mhm.
for a full idol if both people are at the final 10.
Yeah, I
Um,
really for the the first difference maker twist, I really like it. I think it's a tough spot to be in. Being the first difference maker is scary because obviously you're getting something. And I think I like the way that they did it is because Ali goes to the other tribe and gets, to vote with them. And on the surface, that is what like the difference maker advantage was. And by
yeah.
doing that, prod can be like, but also you get this advantage that people don't know about.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the thing is, it sounds like, at least in terms of like Ali, trying to like make connections with the other tribe, they didn't really get the opportunity to because every single person kind of just like
Left the
ghosted
group
them,
chat.
left the group chat. Sounds like the only person that reached out was Jay,
Yeah. Yeah.
which good on Jay. Like I think like that was a good move for Jay. I do wonder if people even knew that he reached out to Ellie. It didn't sound like anybody really cared or knew.
No.
But like good on
Yeah.
Jay for trying to make that move.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's if you're keeping it under wraps well enough, like, I don't think it's a bad idea to have an ally on the other side, like,
Uh,
just as, like, a point of information. And it's
yeah.
so early in the game too that you don't really know when, like, a swap could happen, or and merge is so far away on the horizon that, like, yeah, why not learn about who these other players are gonna be before you
Mhm.
need to figure out who they are down the line?
Yeah. And I think Ellie did as much as they could. Everyone leaving the chat like kind of sucks. But it also works as a perfect excuse to like, you have an excuse to go to your tribe and be like, they literally all left the group chat.
Yeah.
There's like I if people are worried that Ellie might have made allies on the other tribe, they have proof that every single person literally left the chat.
Yeah, they can, like, fully be like, "Look,
Right.
they all just mass left this chat. I don't know how to contact them."
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
So did we ever see Ellie do anything with the love letter?
I don't think we saw anything happen until the, like, next time.
Oh, okay. So then
I
is
think
that
there may
when
have
it's
been a
gonna come
tease.
into Okay, okay. I think I
Yeah.
missed that. But I'm interested to see what Ellie does because it doesn't look like anyone besides Jay talked to Ellie.
Yeah, so
But
who do
I
they
also
pick?
right. I mean, I guess it depends if they're picking before or after tribal. Maybe
Mhm.
maybe they're supposed to pick after, and by picking after, like you can see who actually voted the way you were told to or
Yeah.
whatever. Obviously, Ellie was the only person besides Jay to vote in the minority.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, but like I think Ellie can still use this to their advantage. No
Mhm.
one is going to know. And if personally, if I'm on a tribe and someone from the other tribe is on there and they're like, hey, I have this advantage. If we both make it, we both get half an idol. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
sick. Let's do it. I'm not going to say no to that. And no one else is going to know. I just have to make very clear to Ellie that like no one else can find out about this because it was spread like wildfire.
Yeah, yeah, and
So, mhm,
I assume there's going to be a lot more advantages with the difference maker. So it's
right.
like any information about advantages is gonna be so valuable when so many are going to be
Yeah.
in play.
Mhm. Speaking of Ellie, I really, really liked Ellie this episode. I think they were super fun. They're from Oregon.
They're great. Oregon is this the first person to ever play Survivor Michigan from Oregon? Probably.
Unfortunately, I don't have a stat sheet, but like I would assume so.
We're like the NFL when they pull up the most random obscure stat and it's like first rookie to get 300 passing yards on every Tuesday of every other month and you're like, yeah, of
Mm.
course they're the first to do that. Like that's the most random
My
thing ever.
my favorite stat is the Detroit Lions losing on Thanksgiving during a waxing gibbous moon 13
No.
times in a row. That's so funny.
It's hard to be a Lions fan sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Good thing I'm not a Lions fan.
good this is such a
Anyways,
bummer. At least from Oregon.
okay.
They are giving us Oregon facts. Well, I guess now the Survivor Michigan Twitter is giving us
Mhm.
Oregon facts. Um, along with Me Monday. So of course it's just we're back to the flow of content. Um, and I like that bit. It's a good bit.
Anyways, love Ellie. Super excited to see how they can use this advantage. I really like this advantage. It's giving like it seems like reminiscent of the partner twist from season 5 of Survivor Maryland,
Mhm.
where every single person was randomly assigned a partner, and the people that made it the I think the last pair remaining at a certain point got an advantage, and depending on where they were, dependent changed what their advantage was. Obviously, it wasn't a half idol, but it'll be interesting to see how only being one pair will play out, and how much these people are going to trust each other, or if they'll tell anyone.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. And I
Mm,
wonder if the person they select will immediately like tell other tribe mates on Sokka.
yeah,
Because clearly the Sokka was not willing to work with Ellie whatsoever.
okay.
They
But like
made that very clear.
once one person leaves, you can't not leave.
Yeah, like, that's so understandable, especially so early. It's like no one's gonna make a stand to be like, "Actually, I wanna talk to them." Like, no, you're just asking to get your name written down. Um, but yeah, I wonder who they're gonna pick. Any guesses?
Yeah. Ooh. I th- I'm trying to think. Ali, I mean, I have no idea. I was wondering, is it beneficial or is it a good or bad idea to get like theoretically if you know that like you know everyone who is on prod, is it a good or who was on prod? So
Mhm.
Noah and Ian in this case, is it a good idea to maybe do it to one of them? Because theoretically, it's really bad if like let's say you do it with Noah. Noah tells everyone on prod. Everyone knows about it. That's bad. But on
Yeah,
the other hand, if Noah doesn't tell people but wants to keep Ellie for that reason, that's immediately three people, not including Noah, that like
that will
Noah can basically be like, hey, we need to keep Ellie, blah 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 blah. Plus you
yeah,
have George and Katie on the tribe with Ellie that could also maybe be able to get Ellie in.
be
I don't think it's a
numbers. Yeah.
terrible idea if you know, but the risk is probably greater than the reward. So
Yeah, I
realistically,
super
I would go.
risky.
I would try to go for someone that I think you can tell knows Survivor, because if you go for someone that's maybe never seen Survivor or like seems like a very truthful, honest person, those people can be the worst to do this type of thing with because they will immediately tell everybody, not realizing just like that you can be a little selfish in the game. And the moment Ellie does that, or the moment someone does that to Ellie, Ellie's fucked because their tribe is gonna find out, and now Ellie's lied to her or to their entire tribe. Ellie's lied to every other person on Sokka. That's not a good spot to be in. So you want to find just someone that won't tell anyone. At that
Yeah.
point, it's my guess. I'm going to guess Stephanie. Literally so random.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my random guess was Luke.
Yeah. Like check.
Um, I don't know why, but,
Mm,
who I don't remember who was it that said that they went Facebook stalking?
I
Was
think it was
that
Stephanie.
Stephanie?
I want to
Okay.
say yeah.
Yeah, I guess, like, my only reason not to pick Stephanie was because like, at tribal, she was like, "Yeah, I stalked everyone on Facebook." I
Why would you say
wouldn't
that?
I
Oh,
wouldn't
that's a
say
good
that.
point. I'm literally just contradicting myself because, like, honestly, it sounds like Stephanie's a really honest person. Yeah, you first
Um,
you don't want to say that, especially because Ian might be freaking out. If because like it sounded like Stephanie found out that Ian was on prod through Facebook. You think Ian of all people would like scrub that information clean?
exactly, and, like, you're telling this to your entire tribe, so everyone has the perception of you that you are,
Right?
like, willing to get information in any sort of way,
Yeah,
and I'm just
that's
like,
not a great look.
Girl."
Okay, I changed my mind. I actually think Ellie is gonna pick Noah because
Noah?
you want to pick someone that is in good graces with the tribe
Yeah.
and
Good
also is
graces?
like good. Yeah, I guess you could give
Graces
us a
sounds
great
better.
graces and good grace with the tribe. That was good. Um, yeah, I'm gonna stick with Noah. That's my final answer.
Alright. I think we have some good guesses. We'll see
Yeah.
eventually.
Okay, so
Um,
let's. Oh, there's one thing that we like kind of didn't talk about is idol clues.
oh, yeah!
And
Oh,
then I think
shoot.
then we can go into like the tribe dynamics of each tribe.
Alliances.
Yes, but I think we can start because Lindsay R found an idol clue,
Mhm.
and we find this out like pretty much as soon as she finds it, and it sounds like every single person knew about it. Like she like found it. I think she might have had an opportunity to try to keep it secret, but like she kind of was like, "Oh, I found this, haha, I'll share it to everyone later."
Yeah.
And I get it because it's really tough to hide that. Like, you don't know what's going to be in your buff, and especially if you're not
Yeah.
preparing for that to happen, like that's tough, and you don't know if other people saw it. So I see the benefit of like telling everyone, especially given the fact that it's the first idol clue. No one's gonna find anything with the first idol clue. You can show your entire tribe that you're loyal, which I get. It makes sense. If you're
Yeah.
worried everyone saw it, share it. So I
Yeah.
think under the assumption that like Lindsay could not hide the fact that she found the idol clue, then I think it was a decent move to tell everyone. I think if there's any chance that maybe people didn't see it, I think it's okay to like keep it secret and then maybe tell people later. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I definitely think like if you don't know what it is too, and you're just like, hey, I just found this weird scroll like in my buff.
right? Because like
Um,
especially like if you've never played Survivor before, even if you've watched Survivor, like you're not really like fully expecting, like you don't know how, if there's idols, you don't know if there's
yeah, how
clues to
that
those idols,
works.
and like you're already so stressed about meeting all these people, sometimes you just forget, and
Hmm.
you open your buff and you're like, something falls out and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
That's the moment of
Yeah.
realization. You're like, oh fuck, there's an idol clue in this game, and I have it.
Yeah. I think she did good. Like, that's probably the best thing you can do. Um, but she didn't like sit there and read it. She kept it and then said she was gonna send it at 8 a.m. the next morning. But
Hmm.
she ended up telling Katie, George, and Jack, because she drove those three home. They
Right.
read the idol clue in the car, and then they went and looked a little bit for it.
And that is, mm, there's pros and cons to this. The pros are, I think, in a situation where like you told your whole tribe you're gonna share it later, telling people beforehand is going to build that trust and essentially negates the fact that she was gonna tell everyone, because the whole point of
Mm,
telling a few people or one person is to gain trust. And
yeah,
I think by telling every single person, you there's no trust for those people because everyone's getting the idol clue. So
yeah,
by telling a smaller group of people, I think is actually really smart because it made use of a shitty situation where everyone knows that she has an idol clue by saying I will send it later and then showing people beforehand. Immediately you're gonna trust her, even though every single person is gonna get that idol clue and no one's gonna find it because it's the first idol clue. So good
yeah,
for Lindsay for doing that.
yeah. It's solidifies them as like a group.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I also find it
especially,
interesting. Oh, sorry, you can go.
I was just gonna say, like, just like especially because it's so early and they're not going to tribal, so it's like people probably aren't going to be super like on edge and stuff. It's good to build that early
Yeah.
trust.
I was gonna say I do find it interesting that George and Katie both ended up in this car because
Yeah.
it's like I mean they probably would have told each other that Katie or that Lindsay shared this clue like ahead of time. So
Mhm.
it like for Lindsay specifically it was good that those two people were in the car because that information is probably going to stay more contained than if
Yeah.
George and Katie were not together. And then who was the other person? Was it Jack?
Jack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while that was happening, I really appreciated the juxtaposition of it was Mason Taylor, T Rex, and
Justin is what I have
Justin
written down.
basically being like, why didn't Lindsay share the
Send it.
idol then? Send it. And that's the thing where it's like, yeah, Lindsay probably should have just shared it. I definitely like there's no reason to wait at that point. It's
I think
definitely
Lindsay said,
sketchy.
like, she had an exam or not exam, a paper to write that was due at 8 a.m. that she didn't
But
start. And
yeah,
I was like, Okay, girl, like,
It's like, is
first of
that a
all, go
good?
do your paper before you start idol hunting.
Yeah, I hope she finished her paper.
I hope so too.
Don't worry. If we get to interview Lindsay, that'll be the first question we'll ask. We'll be like, "Did you finish your paper?"
Yeah. The fans need to know.
Right. Maybe we'll get an update next episode.
Maybe. I hope so. George, get on it.
But yeah, I specifically loved Mason just being like, "Come on, Lindsay, like you're such a snake for that. Just share the idol clue," and he had a perfect read of basically being like, "These people like are Lindsay might be sharing the idol clue to everyone else right now," and that's basically what she was doing.
Yeah, Mason was so like that whole confessional, I was like, he got it. Like he
Yeah,
got it
like
all.
the question is like, will he do anything with that, or is he just gonna sit with that information and like not do anything about it? Because it's such a
Yeah.
good way to put a target on Lindsay. But
Mhm.
if people like Lindsay, like that could be dangerous. So who knows?
Yeah. Especially too for like a freshman player in the fall.
Hmm.
Or are
In
they
the
playing the winter?
fall. Oh yeah, no,
Oh,
this
they're
is the
playing
winter season.
winter. Okay.
Yeah, but
Still,
still, like
being
playing
a
as a freshman
freshman,
is just like,
it's so overwhelming.
yeah.
And he had just such a good read on everything. I'm
Uh,
like, Mason's gonna
yeah,
Mason's
I
gonna
was
do
super
good
proud.
things.
Mhm. Okay. Um, Other than that, was there anything else about Obsidian that we talked about or that we want to talk about before we get to Sokka?
I
Any
honestly
particular
didn't
person? We
um
didn't see that much from Obsidian besides that. I'll
yeah.
say like the people we didn't touch on that much really love Taylor. I think she didn't get a lot of screen time, but like the times that she was on screen, like come on, she's a Survivor Michigan super fan. I do think
That's
she maybe should not be telling people that. Like that's kind of silly of her to do.
yeah, because like
It's
if
not
you're
like
so aware of college survivor specifically, because it's just such a niche genre that you're
uh,
like, oh, you're a super fan of just like college survivor, which means you know
right.
about regular survivor. It's like you have all this knowledge. Like maybe tone
Uh,
it down a little bit.
did Taylor only tell George or did she tell everybody? I like cannot
I don't
remember.
I don't know. I know she told like the camera that she was a Survivor Michigan super fan, but I don't know if they showed if she told
Okay. Did
her
she tell George or
fans.
did I just like make that
No,
up?
I think she was just like, "Oh my god, that's George from season 1."
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
also Anne, um, who, like, just did not get a lot of screen time, but she had some good quips. I didn't get down any of her,
Yeah,
main
we definitely like
quotes.
I think we saw Anne like at the very, very start
Mhm.
and
She,
I didn't write
like,
anything
perceived
down, but I did
herself.
really like her.
Yeah, the only thing I have written down really for this episode is, like, she perceives herself as, like, others thinking that she is a friendly face and, like, she will be perceived as, like, this harmless. I think she's also a freshman too.
Mm,
Like a harmless freshman. Um,
yeah.
so maybe she'll play more under the radar. Clearly it was probably not great that she wasn't, like, in any of these groups of 4,
Hmm.
like, right after the challenge, but I guess we'll see how she plays moving forward.
Who was the other person that wasn't in those groups of four?
Um, oh, Ellie.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because like, do you think that was like an intentional thing? Like, oh, Ellie's going to the other tribe. We don't need to talk to them. They're gonna have a target on their back, or like, I don't know. It does because like people seem to like Ellie. Like Ellie won them the
Yeah.
challenge, slayed the puzzle. Um, but I guess having that difference maker advantage is just such a target. Associating
Yeah.
yourself with that is dangerous. So
Yeah.
I hope that getting the difference maker does not um hurt Ali's game. That would really
Yeah.
suck. I really liked Ali, and I think personally, if I am playing the season, I do not want to get the difference maker the first round. I just think that's such a target. Like if I'm Ellie, I'm like gonna be like, no, let's just pick randomly. Like, I honestly don't think like getting it is good for anyone's game, but for everyone else, picking Ellie was a great person because Ellie won
Mhm.
the challenge, and like especially like Ellie, I think is a freshman. They are probably overwhelmed a little bit, and you don't want to say no because like that's a tough spot to be in too. So
Yeah, like, why don't you wanna do it?
yeah, and like you know what, like pe- I think there is some reward to doing it. Like you obviously like are gonna get something. Yeah,
Yeah.
people might know what it is, but after like if you can make it deep into the game, people aren't gonna be like, "Oh, Ellie got this week one." People are gonna be like, "Oh, this person got this week." Like
Yeah.
so. I don't think it's the worst move for Ali to, accept it. I think it was probably the right move. But me personally, I would not want to be the difference maker right away. That's just
No.
it's a tough spot.
Yeah. It's it's tough, and it's like everyone knows that you're getting
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Other
yeah.
people, I like Justin. Yeah, all I wrote was frat acapella question mark exclamation point.
I wrote I wrote that he is going to woo the folk and then backstab.
And I mean, like, that's the type of gameplay we want to see. I think, like, people that are willing to make big moves, I think he definitely seems to have, like, a grasp of what he's doing. What
Mhm.
group was he in? He was in the group with Taylor, T Rex, and Mason. I'm really
Yes.
interested to see, like, wait, like, if these groups are actually going to, like, mean anything, or if they were maybe just kind of like, just to show the fact that Lindsay found the idol clue. Because
Yeah.
other than that, you didn't get that much from Obsidian in terms of like the dynamics.
Yeah. I think we'll just have to wait for more information because obviously in this first episode you're going to want to focus on Sokka because they're going to tribal.
Right. Okay. Speaking of Sokka, I think it's a good time to start talking about Sokka. So um, keep in mind, we find out that Lindsay R found the idol clue like pretty much like as soon as she finds it in real time, we know she finds it.
Yeah.
Then after the challenge is over, it cuts to Grace, and Grace is like, "Yeah, I actually found the idol clue." And
Yeah.
I really love the juxtaposition of both people finding the idol clue. Lindsay telling every single person basically, and Grace just being like, "Yeah, no, nobody saw me."
Like that's the dream, right? You get an idol clue.
Grace is living the perfect life until
Uh,
she decides to tell people.
yeah, like she gets the idol clue no one knows. Maybe people do, but they don't say that they do. And she's like, "Oh
Uh,
yeah, I have this idol clue. I'm gonna tell some people. Like create like a
mhm.
strong alliance." I think that she calls it a power five. Um, because she told Tejas, Ian, Noah, and Luke.
Yes.
And
But
they
her original
immediately
intention was not to tell 5 people. She wanted
yeah.
to tell, I think, Luke? Or who
Yes.
was it?
I don't remember exactly who she wanted to tell, but I think she wanted to tell,
Oh, wait, I think
because
it was either Luke or Noah.
I think it was Luke, because Luke and Ian were pretty close.
Right.
So Luke was like, "I wanna bring Ian," and I think Ian said that he wanted to bring Noah. I don't really know how Tejas got into the
Yeah, I
situation.
think Tejas just, like, showed up,
Yeah, I think he
and
was just, like, there. Tejas
but
is
I
vibes.
I love Tejas. Like, I think I think he said in the tribal, he's never seen Survivor, he's never seen Survivor Michigan, and I think those people are so fun to watch because it gives a variable to the game that is unpredictable. It's
Mhm.
someone that literally could do anything, and those are the worst people to play with, but they're the best people to watch
Yeah.
because they are gonna, they could, on one hand, they can learn the game and become a super dynamic character throughout, and if they don't learn the game, they're a very fun obstacle for people to try to get around. And I don't know which way Tejas is gonna go. He seems like a smart dude, so I can definitely see him picking up the game. And I'm excited to see like which way he's gonna go.
Yeah, it's gonna be super interesting, and he's in a good spot being in this
Uh,
group of 5.
yeah. How
Um,
do we feel about Grace telling these people? I mean, like obviously her intention was to tell one person, and at that point, when more people started coming in, she didn't really have a choice.
yeah, I think it's good to solidify trust with certain people.
Mhm.
Um, and also, like, the risk of Idol Clue 1, I guess, is not super big. Maybe it
Yeah.
is, maybe it isn't, but it doesn't seem
I
that
mean, I
anyone
do
else
like I
knows
agree.
about it.
It's the first idol clue. It's not a huge deal, and I think like the risk of telling so many people is that they're you're basically like quadrupling the chance that they tell someone else. But
Yeah,
at the same time, you're also solidifying like a group week one when you're going to tribal. And
which is
a thing
so
is,
good.
it's so good, and I think I am giving kudos to Grace for that. I think it was a really solid move. Yes, like maybe she wanted to tell one person, which I also think is a good move. Like telling a single person about an idol clue to gain like the trust of one person, really smart. At that point, when more people start coming in, as long as you feel comfortable with those people, I think it's totally fine to be like, "Hey guys, I found an idol clue." Use
Yeah.
that to build an alliance, which is exactly what Grace did. I don't know if we can fully credit Grace for like the formation of this alliance, but
Mhm.
people seem to be relatively like accepting that this is an alliance. Like as soon as it happens, Ian is just like, "Yeah, this is the Power Five."
Yeah. It's the Power 5, and then also Luke sort of brings in Abby and Stephanie as, like, 6 and 7.
Yes,
Um,
but also when like they have a meeting at one point to talk about who to vote off, and it's the Power Five, and Stephanie and Lindsay. There was no Abby
really?
from what I recall. I'm pretty sure because I like wrote that in my notes. I was
Oh,
like
you're
kind
so
of
right.
surprised.
I think
Uh
I
huh.
confused them on accident.
Yeah. Well, no, it like
But
because what you said makes sense because we're talking about the different groups on the Sokka tribe. There's obviously the
yeah.
Power Five with Luke, Grace, Ian, Tejas,
Mhm.
someone else that I'm missing.
Grace,
I think I said Grace. Grace, Ian, Luke,
Noah.
Tejas, Noah. That's what I was missing. So you have that group, and then you kind
Mhm.
of see this three start to develop of like Luke, Abby, and Stephanie.
Mhm.
And can we please talk about Abby? I love Abby. I think was kind of a standout, especially
Yeah.
like with all these, with George and Ian and Katie and Noah. I think Abby was still like probably my favorite person of that episode.
So, Abby's so fun because she's one of the first people that we meet. And I
Hmm.
just really like her energy, and one thing that I wrote down is she actually, like, figured out who Ian is. Like,
Right.
Abby's sister knows Ian, um, and I'm just, like, wondering how how that relationship is going to, like,
Mhm.
form
Yeah,
because
and
I
it's
might be,
not
like,
just
getting
that. Okay.
I was like, I might be getting ahead of myself, but like towards the end of the episode, there's like a tease of like Luke, Abby, and Stephanie possibly wanting to blindside Ian.
Mhm.
Um, which is like the fans want Ian to be in for so long. And I think teasing the blindside is like good when you know it's gonna be like a somewhat unanimous vote. Um,
Uh-huh.
it's interesting to see how that will develop.
Mhm, and it's not only that, Abby, like, knows of Ian through his sister or her sister, but it's the fact that she does not like Ian. It sounds like her sister did not have a great experience with Ian, and when you're playing Survivor, that's all you can go off of. If one person says they don't like someone, that's like you use that as much as you can. So props to Abby for like I don't know if she's explicitly told people this, maybe Stephanie, but it does sound like she was probably one of the major proponents of an Ian blindside, her and Stephanie,
Mhm.
because at least especially if like I don't know if a trio of Luke, Abby, and Stephanie is a thing. It's they seem to be talking a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a duo of Abby and Stephanie.
Oh, for
And
sure.
I really like Stephanie, really, really like Abby. I'm excited to see this duo. I think it'll be a fun one.
Yeah. They're gonna be they're gonna be fun. Like,
Mhm.
they're good, and the Facebook
And
stalking, and then
yeah,
Abby being like, "I hate Ian." Like,
and like
it's just
the fact that they know Ian is a producer and know that like if you know George hosted, you can assume that Ian and George probably know each other. They're not you don't even you don't if they're casting people abroad, there might be more people.
yeah.
Abby and Stephanie do not give a fuck. And they're just like, I want to vote off Ian. Like, they don't even care to vote off Jay. They're like, Jay's gonna be an easy boot down the line. Why don't we just take the shot at Ian now? And I think
Yeah.
this Sokka tribe, for a basically unanimous boot, it is an interesting dynamic because you have this power five, but you have Luke who's associated with Stephanie and Abby, who
Mhm.
want Ian out, but Ian and Luke are really close. And that seems to be kind of the storyline that we're leading up to. And it's like, who is going to, what side is going to win out? Is this Ian blindside going to come to fruition? Or is this Power Five going to kind of like be the dominating force? Or is another alliance going to come through?
Yeah, for the bit, I, like, really kind of hope the Ian Blindside gets pulled off.
Like, I don't know, because like, here's the thing. I love Ian, but it'd be so funny if Ian just like gets blindsided like super early on. Like that it
It's
makes
so
sense for Ian's part.
funny. It would be so funny. I have an Ian quip from Tribal. Um,
Um,
I don't remember how it was prompted, but, I have written down here that Ian wants to write Cooper's name, and I was just
I
like
do remember that. That was good.
"That's just classic." Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited to have cameos from our Gen 1 folk, every now
Yes.
and then, because obviously the productions is all Gen 1. Um,
Mhm.
but I just thought that was funny, and I was like, it's
Yeah.
always just a good bit to be like, "Why don't we vote out Brady?" Like, just say the host and, like, try to vote them out.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
a good bit.
it's a really good bit. It never gets old. Going back to the dynamic of this tribe, I think Luke is in a really interesting spot because he is like essentially in the middle of this power five and the duo of Stephanie and Abby, and he's kind of trying to get them to all work together. And I think he's just having a difficult time. Like he wanted Ian, Stephanie, and Abby and himself to all have this four-person alliance, but then Abby was like, "No, no, 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 we can't do that." And I think Luke fucked up because Luke just like didn't text Ian back, I guess, and that immediately told Ian that Abby and Stephanie were after him because Luke was like, "Hey, let's have a four." Ian was like, "I love that." And then Luke explicitly said he was gonna ask Stephanie and Abby how they felt, and then didn't text him Ian back after he had already asked. That's a red flag. And if I'm Ian, I immediately am not gonna want to work with Stephanie and Abby.
Yeah, for the viewers at home, listening on Spotify or wherever podcasts are held, my face is just, like, sort of like, hello? Like, what was the thought process? You cannot
Yeah.
ghost someone week 1.
And it's like I think who do you blame? Because Luke, Luke is the is like he probably should have maybe made it more clear to Abby and Stephanie. But also Abby and Stephanie should have just lied and or
Yeah.
told Luke, hey, like I don't want this, but we can do it anyways.
Yeah, it's
I
just
I'm just
I don't
really
know.
worried that it's gonna put that three specifically in a tough spot. Because Ian obviously knows Stephanie and Abby are after him. Ian
Mhm.
also knows that Luke is close to Abby and Stephanie and can use that information to essentially like kick him out of the Power Five.
Yeah. which would be
Um, yeah,
which would be crazy.
crazy. Who else is in the Power Five? We have Grace, who we talked about, Noah, who we've talked about, Ian, who we've talked about. There's
Noah,
Tejas. I said Noah.
Tejas. Oh, we talked about
Tejas,
Noah.
and we talked about Tejas. I just want to make sure
Yeah,
we
I feel
got
like
everyone.
we covered everyone. I feel like the only person we're kind of missing
Oh,
from
and Luke.
Sokka is Lindsay.
What about, is Jack on Sokka or is Jack on Obsidian?
Jack is on Obsidian.
Okay, okay.
Oh, and Emily G.
Oh yes, okay. So Emily G and Lindsay seem to be like, they're not like irrelevant because they definitely were there. I don't
Mhm.
think Lindsay got very many confessionals, but you definitely see her talking in these meetings.
Yeah.
And she is being included to a certain extent. She was randomly included in the 7-person meeting, which I thought
Yeah.
was interesting because no one is really seems to like talk to Lindsay that much. Like
Mhm.
Ian didn't even remember Lindsay's name. Ian was like, "Oh yeah, there was this girl, Lauren, I think," and then didn't
Right.
like, he stuck to that. He was like, "Yeah, Stephanie and Lauren were randomly there,"
Yeah.
and like, yeah, there's
Who is
not a person
Lauren?
named Lauren, unfortunately, but there is Lindsay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am wondering if Lindsay's just having a tough time, talking to people. It just
Yeah.
doesn't sound like it, and I don't think it's because of a lack of effort. Because I mean, they were there for that meeting,
Yeah.
but they just don't seem to be included that much, and I'm a little worried that it might be bad news for Lindsay moving forward.
Yeah. I'm optimistic that it's just from like it didn't fit like the narrative of the episode to like see
Right.
into Lindsay's conversations.
Uh-huh.
Like obviously she was a part of the seven.
Mhm.
But like other than that, there was no other like main like I feel like
Yeah,
storylines or like plans happening.
I
And
agree.
like probably those conversations were just like, oh, get to know you, plus like, oh yeah, we're voting Jay, right? Like
Mhm.
it's hard to
Yeah.
include.
And then you also have Emily, who seemed to be more included in the edit, but because she wasn't talking to people, I don't. Is Emily really close with anyone? It just sounded like she
No one
didn't talk
talked
to
about
any
her.
person. Well, people talked about the fact that she didn't reach out,
Yeah.
but that
Like
was basically it. And I get
yeah,
it.
like she
Like,
had this
I think it's tough to gauge how much you should talk to someone like
mhm,
week one because it's like you don't want to come
yeah.
off as a threat and talk to every single person. But also, if no
Well,
one's
you gotta
reaching
talk to
out to you,
someone.
you gotta talk to someone, especially if you're going to tribal week one. Like, what are you doing, Emily?
Yeah. She had this whole bit about like being in kindergarten for the first time, which is so relatable. Like
So real.
it's so
But
real. Everyone's been to kindergarten and everyone's played Survivor, right?
yeah,
So
same thing basically.
same thing. It's the same. And I was like, "Oh wow, like that's cool. Like that's an interesting like she had like a interesting confessionals with the producers, but there was nothing about other players." And I was just
Uh-huh.
like, "What about is she going to talk about the other players? Maybe next
Mm,
time?"
yeah.
Who
Okay,
knows?
but who knows? I mean, here's the thing: she did end up being looped in the vote, but she was also the
Mhm.
other option.
Yeah.
It was like the edit shows that Jay is aware that he is a target. And honestly, you know what? We haven't talked about Jay that much.
We haven't.
What? Okay,
Jay
I love Jay. He was very just like out from the get go. He wanted to play. He's only seen total
mhm.
drama, and yeah, I really like one thing I like about this season is like there's a lot of different Survivor experiences. You have Tejas who's never seen Survivor. You have Ian who's only seen Survivor Michigan. He literally says he's never seen Survivor, but like he's obviously a big part of Survivor Michigan. Has been editing it, watching these people's strategies. You have T Rex who has only seen French Survivor. and Jay,
Yes.
who's only seen Total Drama Island. And I'm really
So
interested to
basically,
see how these people interact with each other, how they strategize, will they learn the game, will they not? And unfortunately, Jay didn't have time to learn the game.
no! Missed out on the
Ah,
total drama perspective.
we did.
I mean, Jay went about it as he could. He was put in a really tough spot and he owned up to his like mistakes, but I feel like so early, it's like if you make a
Yeah.
mistake like that, it's so hard to
Mm,
overlook because that's the only thing people are basing their vote off
yeah.
of.
I feel like the
Um,
moment he found out that the lock was already unlocked, his fate was sealed.
yeah. It
Espe- like,
was
especially with being such a vocal person, I think there are some people that might have been able to get out of that. There was a quote, I believe it was from Abby's voting confessional, and I really loved it. It was simply, "You're the classic first boot." And I love Jay, but I definitely like do think that even if he didn't do the lock like incorrectly, I think he
yeah.
is still probably one of the couple options. I do think there's a chance that it gets pushed on to Emily because you
Mhm.
know Jay didn't fuck up the challenge in this scenario, but I
Yeah.
think fucking up the challenge and the fact that Jay is just a very like he seems like
Vocal person.
a vocal, I don't know if honest is the right word, but like he says what's on his mind,
Yeah.
and those people are tough to work with sometimes. And I think everyone kind of realized that. And combined with the challenge, it was just tough to like really do anything. But I appreciate the effort Jay put in. It sounds like he was
Yeah.
aware that he was a target. He was aware that Emily was one of the other targets.
Mhm.
And you have Luke, who's also close to Jay. Luke is like really connected, and I'm worried that
Yeah.
is going to fight him because he's close to the Power Five. He's close to Stephanie and Abby, and he was close to Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all giving like a very interesting dynamic on this tribe for such a unanimous vote.
Right, and I
Like,
think that's why I love George as an editor. I think he did a really good
yeah.
job of like putting the pieces on the table of what is to come. But we don't have all the pieces. We don't even know what the puzzle looks like. We have
No.
we have like 4 pieces, and this is a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, we're scrambling on the floor because we're like, where'd all these pieces go?
Exactly. But from the pieces that we do have, I think we for especially for a unanimous boot, this was a great episode.
Oh yeah.
And kudos to George for editing it. Like the fact that he edited season one, obviously he wasn't involved anymore, so he stopped. And then came back for season 6 to play, and is editing it now in 2023 is insane. He did not have to edit his own season.
Yeah.
I'm sure he wanted it to come out, so
Yeah.
that definitely helps. But like, just props to George. I am so
Yeah, he
excited to
did great.
see the rest of this season, and it was just a great first episode.
It was so fun. I'm really
Mhm.
excited for season 6. It's so fun. Not only season 6, more episodes of Keep Your Torch Lit.
Yes, so
There's
and
more to come.
unfortunately, the delay of the first episode also caused the delay of this episode because we were going to film it right after episode 1 aired, and then it didn't air until like midnight, and me and Sophia were very tired.
We were sleepy little boys.
We were very sleepy.
Yeah, you know,
We say as it's 1:30 in the morning.
yeah.
We're still very sleepy,
We're
but
still sleepy.
well,
We're busy bees.
yes.
Um, we're
One
on
last
that
thing.
finals grind. Anyways, continue. Yes.
Oh, remind me. One last thing. There wasn't that many memorable moments in Tribal. I think it was very standard. Lots of people being like, "Oh, it's week one. I'm making connections." Blah blah blah. All
Yeah,
that shit.
the most memorable thing was the Facebook stalking comment,
Yeah,
which we've talked about.
I did find it funny. Like nothing related to the game, but Jay just did not know what Obsidian was. They were going through the tribe names, and like Jay was like, what even is your tribe name? Obsidian? What is that? And everyone is like, you don't know what obsidian is?
He's
Is
not a
the
gamer.
Sophia, you don't need to watch Minecraft to know what obsidian is. Like, imagine if I said, Sophia, this is a tree. Sorry, you don't know what a tree is because you didn't play Minecraft. You would think
Yeah.
I'm insane. Same goes with
No,
obsidian. I feel like most people should know what obsidian is,
I don't
regardless
think
of
I
if
knew
it's
about it.
okay. But when did you play Minecraft,
You know what?
Sophia?
When I was 8.
Right. I don't think 8-year-olds should know what obsidian is without Minecraft. I think 20, 21, I don't know how old Jay was, 18 to 22-year-olds should know what obsidian is. But you know what? He didn't, and he made a funny moment of it, so I can't really complain.
It
I think
was
it
goofy.
summarizes Jay in a nutshell. And then I really
Yes.
loved Ellie quipping back, being like, "Your tribe name is Sokka," and just like, I mean, I think they're both good tribe names, so I don't think there's that much to really make fun of either. But I just like the fact that Ellie was like, "Yeah, our tribe name is straight up just better."
Yeah, as they should.
Any final thoughts as we wrap this up?
Final thoughts. I liked the episode. I like how George edits. Um, Ian, you're an amazing editor, but the 1 hour episodes are favorable.
Oh my, yes, I would like. Um, this episode flew by. I think
Yeah.
for a first episode, I felt like I got to know a really good amount of people. I'd say like the only people I wish we saw more, or not the only people, but the people off the top of my head that we didn't get that much of. Wish we got more Anne. Wish we
Yes.
got more Taylor, and more Justin and Jack. I think those are some
Mhm.
good people that I'd like to see more. And I'm sure there's others. Love to see more T Rex,
Oh,
but you
more
know,
T-Rex,
not. But
please.
also, not everyone films a lot. So like, I think George did a really good job of what he had to work with, and I'm so excited to see the rest of the season. I have
Yes,
to
it's gonna be
say,
so fun.
player of the week has to be Abby. I just like loved Abby, and I think like if they can, I am a little worried about the position. I'm not gonna lie, but if they can just get through these couple of weeks, maybe like throw Luke under the bus or get into this Power Five,
Yes! Shake it
then
up!
yes, come on, Abby. Um, but yeah, Abby was probably probably my favorite of the episode.
Yeah, yeah. Who was my favorite of the episode?
Mm.
I think my favorite of the episode was I feel like it has to be, even though we didn't, like, get a lot of them, I feel like it has to be I I'm really curious about Anne. Like, Anne
We really did
is
not
just,
get a
like,
lot of Anne this episode,
we get a
Sophia.
lot of Anne. I want more Anne.
I hope we get
She
more
was, like,
Anne next episode.
like, more Anne content. Like, all of the Anne fans, like, I am here for
Anne
you.
fans,
Anne fans.
I love that.
Um, I want more Anne content. Um, yeah, I can't play if I had to pick a player of the week, it would be Anne. Why?
Okay,
Because
I
she's cool.
okay. Um, yeah. So thank you everybody for watching the first episode of Gen 2. Keep your torch lit. This was so fun. I can't wait to do this again next week. And by next week, I mean a couple days,
Whenever we do it.
whenever we do it.
Yeah,
We hope to start having guests at some point. Not sure if we will next week, but we
you're
will.
gonna have
You'll
to go
know
with the flow
when the
with
episode
us.
comes out. Huh?
They're the fans, you guys are just gonna have to go with the flow with us.
Yeah.
We're
We're
trying
we're
out new
figuring
things.
it out.
We're trying out new
Yep.
things. We're gonna figure it out.
Yep.
So everyone, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below. What's your
You've been
favorite?
waiting to do that
I've
the
been
entire.
waiting.
You said that way too. You're
Comment.
like and subscribe. Sophie's living her YouTuber dream right now.
I mean, like the 10-year-old in me is like, oh my God, like I'm running a YouTube channel right now.
I bet you're just like, I wish this was a Minecraft YouTube channel. Then you would be golden.
I almost started one of those, but we don't have to discover that. For Sophia's, if you made it to the end of the episode, I want you to
Propsy.
comment down below. First of all, thank you for coming to the end of the episode with us. We really appreciate it.
Mhm.
And if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, head over to the YouTube comment section. Comment, what do you think this guy's name should be? You see this little turtle?
Oh,
What should his name be? I already have
I
a name
think it
for
should
him.
be Velociraptor.
I already have a name for him. Actually named
So
by the season 3 Chloe. But I want to know what you guys would name him.
what's the point of naming him if you're already going to use Chloe's name?
Well, what if they want to name my turtle?
I want to name your turtle, but obviously you're not going to pick Velociraptor. You're going to pick Chloe's name.
Well, I just want to see what they're going to say.
I think you should pick Velociraptor because if you don't, you hate dinosaurs, which means you hate T-Rex. And I know you don't hate T-Rex, Sophia.
I'm going to pickle.
You
All right,
are.
guys. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you
Thank
next time.
you for
Thank
joining
you for
us.
bearing with us.
Forever remember to keep your torch
More torch
lit.
lit.
Yeah! We'll see you next time.
Bye.